Yeah, hear anything.
Sorry.
Someone else's.
Oh, okay. So I thought
Maybe yours does.
oh, is that agendas?
The bottom of the pile.
I don't think so. No, but we did the first one. And someone
How are
else.
you?
Good.
Are you good?
Yeah.
One is staff raising one. Did you go anywhere?
We're doing a big trip.
Okay.
Do we have enough people to
Oh.
start our meeting?
Yeah.
I have to work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. Where are you going here? Finance, FNS, and then sales.
What are you doing? Like,
We fly out. We had a really fun June train.
Just wait like 2 more minutes, because I don't know if we have enough people to.
I don't know that we do.
Just. Although I think Annie said that she has. Pam's on her way, as is Dr. Taylor, so he would be here 2 minutes late. Okay, so Annie is here and she's.
Oh, okay.
She could vote for us.
Okay.
I
I only saw one.
Okay.
I think Annie might be our only one.
I know like Ashley can't make it. And Sue can't make it. Lots of
time of year.
such.
Well, now we have nobody on Zoom except us. So if Annie was there, she's gone.
Isn't there?
No.
I'm sure there's.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, what should we do? Should we get started and?
Yeah, and then I just don't think we can vote on it.
It's just like the meeting stuff.
All we
We
need
do updates.
I guess all we need to vote on really would be like minutes. And then fundraiser requests.
We have the land, you have a vote on the land trust still?
I don't think we need to vote on it. I think that's-
We did last time. right?
I think she just was going to give us an update as to where that is, yeah. Did you guys all get the one that says April 9th, or did you guys get January?
I have a January night.
Oh.
Well, it says April 9th.
Oh, I mean, April.
But January.
Wait, I was not January.
I know, because over last month I don't know, somebody went ski want this, but I have old copies in my bag and I think I have the same stuff. This is correct. Let's just. Oh, okay. That other one. Right. Sammy, how about you? Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. And if there are things that we need to vote on, maybe we'll just hold the votes until the end. And if we need to do it via email, then we'll have to do it that way. So that's just fine. I didn't receive any emails or anything about public comment, but welcome. Thank you all for coming. I do know it's so busy right now in the springtime. So thanks for coming. I hope everybody had a good, it's also like right back after spring break. So I think it's kind of a tricky, jump right back in. So anyway, I don't think that we have any public comment that I'm aware of. So maybe we'll just kind of skip down to the bottom part of the agenda, if that's okay. Mark, you're at the top of this list of the people that are present.
Awesome.
Do you mind starting us off with an update.
I'd be happy to.
Thanks.
We are finishing up our 10th grade annual meetings this month. It's been good. We still are making tweaks to schedules. I mean, since we didn't meet before registration, if there's a tweak, something that makes sense, we're working with the students to change those classes, but those are we are getting ready for our senior clearance for graduation. So I went over this with the faculty. If you want to look at one and just pass around, each of your seniors will receive one of these this Friday. They'll have exactly what they need to finish up to clear for graduation. That we've been working with them for 4 years, so it won't be a shock to them, but it might be to you. I don't know. I think you communicate with your kids. I know my parents do. So anyway, so it's 3 segments. The first one is the classes they are currently in that they need to graduate. The second one is if there's any outside credits, like they're doing PE through Northridge or whatever, or any credit recovery. And the third one is the civics exam. So those are the 3 things that counselors look at to clear students academically for graduation. And so each of your seniors will receive this Friday in the commons area. There'll be announcements for them to come and pick it up. If they don't miss that day, they come get it from us individually. They'll have the next few weeks to make sure all the deadlines are on here as well. All these things are done. And then they'll return this to us ideally by May 13th. That's when Jostens comes to East High School with the cap and gown. We'll meet in the auditorium. We'll be in the auditorium with Jostens. Your student will bring this to us and say, "Here, Mr. Under, I've got everything I need to do done." And they'll hand that to me. I'll go, "Yep, you do. Here's your ticket. Go get your cap and gown." If they say, "Well, Mr. Under, I still need to do some more work in this Martinova's math class to finish up," I'll say, "Okay, when she and you are ready to have that signed, she'll sign it and bring it back to me. I'll hold your cap and gown in my office until that time." And then they come show it to me then. I say, "Yep, you're good now. Here's your cap and gown." Awards will be given out for the most part. The cords and stuff will be given. A lot of those will be given out during Jostens. Some of them will be given out during the senior awards night that we have each year. So some of the awards are given out there. Others are given out because they're so numerous. Any questions of me?
What is the civics exam?
Civics exam is actually the United States citizenship exam. Our state, our legislators say, well, if we're expecting other people who are coming into our country to know this information, we ought to expect our students to know it too. So for the last, 10 years or so, they've had to pass the civics exam. Most of your students are taking it in 8th grade or 7th grade after they take their U.S. history class, and they're passing it. We have it on our website, the East High website, the counseling web page. There's a link for the civics exam, how to take it, step-by-step instruction. It has to be done on a school computer at school. And then the study guide right below that. So the 100 questions of the citizenship exam there with the answers, so they can study it. It's not open book as far as taking it. So when they take it, we won't be able to refer to that, but they can study all they want. Our kids do really well on it. We have our IEP students with the individual education plans take it and pass it. They struggle with our IEP students struggle with it. They can work with their resource file holder to modify the number of questions down. I've never had any of my students need to do that, but I'm sure some have.
And the students can take the test multiple times
Many times they need to.
until they pass.
Yep. I've never had a student not graduate because it didn't pass the civics.
Okay, that's good.
Do we know what time graduation is?
It is the 4 o'clock, I think.
Okay,
Is that
that's
right?
what I have. I just wanted to
Yeah.
double check. 4 o'clock. Okay.
So on this form, it shows some deadlines, and your students should know that when we send out their students have things that they're needing that's not in their schedule, outside credits or credit recovery or civics exam, we send out a notice supporter to them. And so these deadlines shouldn't be news to them. They know that they should be getting this stuff done. Now, some of them haven't done it because they're human beings just like me, and they wait to the last minute. But boy, if I'm a parent right now, I'm firing them up and I'm saying, there's no more last minutes.
Yeah, get her done.
Soon.
Welcome, welcome. Here, no, so we can just pass it around. That's great.
Thank you.
Is there a deadline for finishing, like, do they have to do it during their senior year, or they can just do it like before and get it over with?
Yes, so
Oh,
civics
okay.
exam, they can take any time. Credit recovery, they can do any time. So these are just deadlines that, hey, if you want to walk on May 31st at 4 o'clock, we've got big deadlines. If students don't meet, if seniors don't meet these deadlines, then we'll continue to work with them through the summer. So that, and those East High School diploma, the unfortunate thing is, and it's really unfortunate that we wouldn't get to walk. And I know that's a big celebration. So we've been pushing that celebration for 4 years with them. And we say there is a safety net, but you don't want to use the safety net, nor does your mom want you to use that safety net. So don't.
That's great. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thanks so much, Mark.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Sarah.
Hey, PTA, we have a few things coming up in April. April 16th, we're doing our last service project of the year during lunch with the students. So that's for Primary Children's Hospital. And I believe that we will be doing some sort of trade decoration for them, like some art project. And then we have a team of volunteers who are providing the drink station at prom on the 20th. Then April 26th, we'll be doing teacher appreciation, providing a taco truck for the teachers and staff during lunch on April 26th. And then just gearing up for all of the May senior activities, doing the pancake breakfast, and we'll have a graduation party on the 31st after graduation, and then help senior dinner dance before as well. All those things are coming. So more dates and information on those dates in May will be coming out. But we also had our meeting today, and we have a team of volunteers who've done so much in the stash. I know Rebecca used to be in charge of the whole thing, who are willing to step up because right now it is closed. And so we're concerned that it's not going to be open rest of the year, and wanted to kind of talk about that. Well, Roman is no longer there. So I was hoping maybe with Karen we could talk, but just because we have a lot of parents who are familiar with it and could really step in and help right now.
I know one of the issues is obviously Roman resigned. He didn't do a lot of ordering before that, and so it's pretty bare right now, which is kind of why it's not open at this time, because there's just not much stuff in there. So I know that Ron has been working on getting somebody hired. We have quite a few applicants, so hopefully, I know he's working on that. It's not. It won't close the rest of the year. It's
Okay.
not, our kids in our community like that, so. But I know Ron's been looking at applications for it. Okay. I don't know where he is in the process, but I know the position is posted and he's been reviewing the application, so.
And then to get a fund for Roman before he resigned, because he was fantastic, but he has a college degree and is underpaid. I just think that's a really difficult thing to do.
And he did a great
I
job.
loved it,
Yeah. Just,
but
Like, it seems like there would be plenty of.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any
Like in the meantime.
need in the meantime, just to tie it over some stuff or get some volunteers, I think that we take up that, so.
And I think in the meantime, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, but we do have some essentials still in
We do.
stash. So
There's
if we do have a student in the need of something, there is always an administrator who can take the student and we can service. the
yeah,
student.
they just need to come and talk to us. We, like I said, it's just a little bit low because it's hard to keep it replenished.
Okay.
What date is this?
That's it for me. The dinner dance is May, let's see here, it's the week before, I think she said it's the 23rd. Oh wait, the awards are the 18th
Thursday
and the
night.
dinner dance is like. So they're separating it. Last year they had it on the same night, this year they're doing it separate. That's it for me. Yeah.
I do want to know about stash. I do know it. And people would love to help.
Here, PTA talked
Yeah.
about, I think we're ready for you guys,
Oh,
whoever
okay,
wants to, yeah.
okay.
Because
the meeting today,
hiring
we were
takes a
thinking
long
of it.
time, even when it's working perfectly.
Yeah.
So,
And there's some stuff in there. We just need to maybe have work with Aaron or somebody or Soch to get some stuff.
Yeah.
We can use
Did
that.
you ever do any of the ordinary about that? Do you know?
She knows.
I did.
So
I mean,
make
I did it
sure
for
we,
one school year,
make
but
sure we have your number and stuff, because I asked Jim today, I'm like, we were talking about that. She was like, I don't think you wrote anything down, so.
Yeah, no.
Aaron's been helping too.
And then Brittany is our volunteer coordinator, so we can put it up real quickly and get some people, but if there's, I know that you guys probably know more of the systems of how.
Did it in his own way, you know, not entirely like he did, but I'm happy to help.
But you know a way that works. There's
Yeah.
lots of good ways. to
Absolutely.
help and stuff.
Yeah. That'd be great.
I get it.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
We're kind of moving down this bottom portion of the, okay, so that is not here, but I believe she sent an email. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to give her update. Okay, here is the info from Net. She said, SBO elections are next week on the 18th and class office elections are on the 25th. I still have some offices that no students are running for. Kids need to contact me by Friday at the latest. I do feel like we need to,
Yeah. we have a lot of openings.
yes, get the, I've seen so much on Instagram and we send out like another email blitz or a phone blitz or anything. I don't know what we could do, but we should definitely get the word out, especially if there are just open spots. Let's get kids there to do it.
Can we maybe, I don't know, pass out the applications during connections or just
That's a good idea.
directly?
It's a good idea. I can email that to Lynette and ask her.
That's a good idea. Someone should be able to put that together.
All we need to do is put the.
Someone has to basically, my Erin is out of town for a couple of days. And she is the one who can like, I would say, put something on the kids' canvas and like 3 seconds later, okay, done. So.
Okay, that's great. Let's get more kids. in that fun. Okay, prom is April 20th. If you'd like to chaperone, please contact Lynette. With prom being on 4/20. We need as many people as possible. And then, oh, the senior dinner dance is May 18th. So, awesome, okay, you're great. Hey, that's, she said that's all she can think of.
Sorry, Erin.
Yes.
Where's?
Yeah, there is from.
Do you remember the name of it? It's downtown at the.
Depot?
It's, yeah, I think it's on that big open, yeah,
It's
old building. It's really great. It's pretty. I think that's where it is. Now that I mention it, I'm like, oh yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in the train building, the actual, like where Rio Grande was, such a big, like.
Oh,
open-
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I think that's where it is. Gateway is kind of close.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for Lynette. Elena.
As far as the SAC, is concerned, we don't have new items to report to, but we are, as teachers, getting ready for all end of the year testing. We have the AP testing in May, the first 2 weeks of May. The first exam, the morning exam starts at 7:30. So make sure your students are at the school by 7:15. They need to be checked in. The school is going to provide breakfast for them. So, and snacks for the afternoon test. So we are getting ready for that. Aspire testing started already this week with English, I believe. Then next week is science, then we have reading, and then we have math. So what is important for the Aspire is that the students need to take this test on a school issued device. And we do know many of the students are using their own devices. We need to know who will need a laptop so that they can take the Aspire. The English, math, and math teachers will talk to the students. All 9th and 10th graders take Aspire. So We just need to know how many additional laptops per classroom you need to provide so that every student has a school issued laptop so that they can take the test. They cannot take the test on the test.
Yes, we class, take it seriously.
And remind me, what? I feel like this came up at a meeting before, but why are Aspire tests important? Because I know that people can opt out of taking the Aspire test, but why do we want them to take it?
The Aspire testing is one of the main ways that the state reports on us, the school, as a district, the whole state. So when you look up on the state website, East High or Highland or Alta High School, they show you testing data. And they have graduation rates, they have Aspire tests, they have ACT, because that's the 11th grade. And they have students that are like college and career ready, that have finished CT pathways or have done concurrent education or whatever. That's it. That's what it says about us. So, and all the things that the state wants us to do and our goals are all around trying to help our kids show how smart they are. So that other people can say, oh my gosh, that's smart. So, yeah.
Do you have a number percentage-wise of those that opt out?
It's not very many. It's hardly any. Since I've been at East, I've only maybe had a couple people that are homeschooling or whatever and say, we're not gonna come in and do that, because homeschool are other kids that or go to our school and another school come in to test. So not many.
We usually test about 94, more than 94% of our student population.
What is our pass rate then?
The pass rate varies by subject, and we have 9th graders and 10th graders. It's all online. I right now do not remember the passing percentages, so I'm sorry, I cannot tell you that. Yes, I think Pam brought colorful graphs. Yes,
Wow.
yes. But you can also, if you go to the state website, to the data gateway, you can compare East to other schools, and you can choose schools that are similar to East in terms of demographics, and you can see where we are in terms of their test scores and so on. So it's a very powerful tool. Unfortunately, we're of the math department, and I admit in math, our scores are not great. So that's why we needed the extra support from Trustland so that we can improve our scores.
Well, and remember, there's growth and proficiency. Our students are very strong in growth every year. So they start in a place and then compared to their own abilities and their own scores and compared to others, a lot of growth, which is huge. But somehow getting over the hurdle of being proficient is tough. It's tough for us. And it's hard to, frankly, it's hard to figure out how to teach kids the difference, you know? They're like, well, I learned a lot. Yeah, but it looks like you didn't, you know, it's hard. But we're working at it. That's our land trust plan is trying to address
Do you
it.
remember if we're struggling in one subject more than the other, or is it just across the board?
It's kind of across the board. In general, though, reading with ACT and with Aspire is our highest area. It's still not high enough, but, and all the other tests really are reading tests. So we're kind of making our goals more about reading in all the subject areas, because that's what they need. They need to be able to read math texts and science texts, and
When you say that reading is highest in need or highest in proficiency?
highest in our scores.
Okay.
They're the highest scores in reading. And with ACT, it's not really, if you're over 18, you're doing it.
And the promise at the union events.
Yeah, you mean so.
Union events, yes. Yeah. And I think that's it. Testing is our big deal for the end of the school year.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, mine is so quick, yeah. So I have been working, my boss and the other district people in that same area have been looking at all, and they have a rubric, and they're grading how they are so far. So they have to do that, and then we have to make changes, and then the board gets to look at them.
I can't sell this radio.
like a whole process.
News time 4:59. Traffic and weather together is brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky.
All afternoon, I've been reorganizing and shuffling. And it's not done yet, but it's close. And it is gonna be way better in terms of someone else reading it will say, oh, I know exactly what you're trying to do. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, this leads to this. So I'm not complaining, but I didn't expect necessarily to have to rewrite all of it. But all the things that we want to support are, it just is gonna make more sense to the board members and to the land trust people. Just the way it's organized. Oh, I'm okay.
So it doesn't, so you were not changing anything.
We're
in
not
it, you're
changing,
just having
yeah.
to change the order of
We're,
how we did it.
I'm making the order so that the goal and how we want to support the goal and the action steps are just more clearly delineated.
Okay.
It makes total sense.
Okay.
The other thing is, at some point right before the break, we got our final exact numbers of what we were gonna get, and it was a tiny bit less. But so I had to go in and I took a little bit off of remember the 10,000 for AP training? And we all knew that if that was kind of our slush too, so if it needed to be a little more or a little less. So it looks like it just needs to be 1,000 or 2 less. So I've adjusted that as well, knowing that school is also paying for a lot of that training also. So we're just all kind of paying money. So yeah, all the things are the same. They're just gonna be in a better order now. Oh, and the other thing, I talked to Paula Plant. I talked to her twice this week already. But one thing I asked her was about that sign sheet, signing the electronic signature thing that I was trying to explain to you. She was like, oh, we moved right away from that because we got a lot of feedback that it was really difficult and no one, like principals were trying to chase people down to get signatures or to tell them to get on their email and sign things. And if everyone on the list didn't sign, it couldn't go. It was a big pain. So now what they do is once they've approved the plan, there's an actual form that we bring to our last meeting and everyone signs that they had a part in making that plan. And she said, it's just so much easier. Everyone that's there just signs. It doesn't have to do with who's voting or not. It just has to do with people saying, yep, I had a part of that. So that is way easier. But I expected that the other step to be happening already, and that's why I called her to find out. So anyway, I think things are going fine. It's just a little slower this year. And our school board has a lot to say about all the plans and they have to have everything for their next meeting. So yeah.
Could you send us what you?
I will.
finished when you
As soon as I get it reorganized again, I will send it out to you guys. I think it'll make a lot more sense. And you'll say, oh yeah, there's our stuff. There's what we're supporting. It's all there. So yeah, I'm actually really excited. I think it's a good plan.
So everything else aside from just the 10,000 is the same.
Yep, it's gonna be like 8. Put it down to 8. You're like, you gotta adjust your budgets now that we have the final numbers, which we expected, so it was fine.
Okay, that's great. Anything else?
No, I was just gonna say that we started with testing, so I'm glad that Elena talked about that. And just trying to finish the year strong, It's fun. We have a lot to do.
I know it's busy.
Yeah.
Okay, we do have a couple of fundraiser requests. Jen, do you want to?
Yeah, and if you have any questions, think of them for later.
One is a snap race. Both of these groups, soccer and baseball, have one fundraiser left that they can do this year if they want. They've both only done 2 and they get 3. So, and these are voluntary, and under the policy, if they're voluntary, the money can go to the program. Does not necessarily have to go to specific students that bring that in because they're not required to do this. So one is for baseball, it's snap raise, and I think he's using this for equipment replenishment and some things with the field that they're gonna do, plus the district is working on the field as well. And then soccer is the U of sessions that a bunch of our other teams have done.
We talked about those, I think. You guys remember that?
And this is men's soccer.
What's the date on the?
For soccer, they're gonna do it on the 19th of April. And baseball had their scheduled from April 1st, but I told him before I went on spring break that it wasn't approved yet, so they couldn't start it until it had been approved. So they're wanting to go through May 31st.
And on staff rates, don't we usually say, you know, if you want. And just as long as everyone knows on staff rates has that option, that, and they know that a percentage of whatever they're raising is going to SNAP raise.
I think that
that's
they know that it does, but I'll make sure that the coaches communicate that they have that option. Just because I'll be perfectly frank, I'm not a big fan of SNAP raise for that exact reason, but I also know on the other side of that, this is an easy way to make a lot of money. And that's the benefit of it. And unfortunately, it comes at a cost, but I do know this is an easy way, and kids are more willing to do this, I think, sometimes. But yeah, I will make sure that the coaches know that that's an option that they can donate directly.
But I mean, as an SCC, we kind of put that in as a stipulation if we were gonna approve SNAP raises. And I know I've gotten SNAP raise requests, and it never says anywhere on them that, I mean, of course, they're not gonna advertise like, oh, yes, you can go directly to the school's website and do it.
Yeah, so I
Because
don't,
it's SNAP raise that's doing it, and they get the money,
They're
so
incumbents.
it is a little tricky.
so I'll make sure that the coaches that the coach communicates to the parents directly that that's an option before they having them email it. Because it is, you're right, SNAP raise is the one that sends us out, and there's no chance it's not gonna say, hey, by the way,
Hey.
instead of paying us, you can.
Right.
So,
And it's true, if we're wanting to make a $25 donation, it's helpful.
they can, yeah, they can. They can also be done through the foundation also.
Yep.
Yep. So.
Yeah, so let's make sure that.
Sorry, when you donate through the foundation, does it go directly to that club or does it go to the school? It goes directly, if you label it to a particular group, that's where it goes.
We were just talking to our treasurer about this. If you donated $25 to girls softball, which I gotta tell you how good they are, it would be an account that's labeled East High Girls Softball. And the coach or Kim can ask for that money to be transferred to a school account so that we can reimburse or have someone paid to do something or whatever it is. It's pretty easy.
And that process doesn't take like a
No,
while.
it doesn't take a while.
The foundation just holds the money. It's really the team's money. They just hold it, and that's.
Just a recommendation, but when you do that, just allocate, identify the team, not a specific aspect, an expenditure for the team, because then that restricts it forever to that
Right.
specific expenditure.
Yes.
So be a little bit general if you do that, so that the teams can use it where they need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the team.
Yeah.
This is a silly question. What really is the point of SLEP holding the money?
There's a couple of things is like, for example, I have a good friend who worked for Fidelity for several years, and they match charitable donations, but the only way they'll do it is via a school district foundation.
501c3
Yeah.
organization.
And so like she donated when I was teaching $1,000. I coached girls basketball, and she just labeled it Fairmont High Girls Basketball. And then it goes to the foundation, and then they just transfer over. So it's the same as making a donation. You just have to, it just takes a step from Kim is all.
And that doesn't go against their number of fundraisers that they get.
No.
This is just
It's
straight
a donation.
There's no.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point. Thanks for, yeah, it's not a
It's not a
fundraiser.
fundraiser.
Sorry, would you want to mention the BSU fundraiser as well? Because I think we'll probably end up doing that via email.
Yeah, they actually, so BSU would like to have an event, I believe it was May 17th. And they still didn't give the paper to Jen, but they will, and they wanted to ask SCC to approve it. Use that funds to buy t-shirts for members and also have like a graduation party.
What's the issue? Sorry.
Lexington.
Oh, thank you.
What's the fundraiser?
Lexington Union.
Yeah,
It's a
what are they
fundraiser.
doing? I just
So,
heard what
so
they're
they're gonna do a bash, they're gonna, invite, businesses around Salt Lake or around East High, to promote them, but also they're gonna have like food and drinks and all that, and they're gonna use that money towards, for club.
That sounds great.
Any more questions about those? So we can sign them. All of us
So
are-
we need to make a motion, right?
And I think there's enough of us to vote. No, so I think we're okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the fundraisers.
I'll say.
Okay, no, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, and that's for both fundraisers. And then we'll send this one out as soon as we get the paperwork. I'll just watch for that in your email.
Sorry, can I just, how does the whole thing work again, just high level? So a club or something like that can have up to 3 fundraisers.
3
a year.
official fundraisers that we all have to approve.
Okay, so SCC has to approve it, school admin has to
SIC,
approve it,
yeah.
SIC.
So the 3 of us right here have to sign it, and then our business people probably have to sign it.
Okay, so
The
it's just
area
up to the
director.
coach or the club
Mhm.
president, or whatever, when and what they want to do. They just
Right,
fill out the
and then
proposal.
they do it in enough, they get everything signed or ready in enough time that everyone can have questions or approve or not approve or ask them to make changes or,
Right, okay,
That's
and then
kind of
what
the
you,
high
the point you were making before is that you can donate directly to the school website, designate what it's for, and then there's no limitation.
right. Yeah, people are donating to sports teams all the time. And Kim, if it's over like $500, Kim has to text me and tell me. And I think right before the break, there were 2 or 3 $500,000, $2,000 donations.
A lot of people with businesses do that at the end of their tax year because they need the tax benefits from it, and so they'll just pick something that they have a commitment to.
For their kids there, and they're like, man, my kid needs, their team needs something. So it's, you guys, all of you are nodding because you all know how that is. We need something, and the parents all go, okay. It is nice. It's good. It's good. Any other questions about that? That's a very good point. And your point to bring up SLEP again is really important. If you were here last month, James came and just kind of reminded everyone what they're doing, and they've opened the medical clinic at West. That is a huge, huge deal. There's been a lot of press. And more than the press, it's just that kids can get service that they need. It's really amazing. So
Is that being used? Like, is it
it's open.
And that's not just for West.
It's for all the high schools.
Have we had any of our students take advantage of the clinic?
I don't know. But if someone went over there, they called a parent, you know, it's not really, I don't think there's a method where it would come back to me yet. I'm sure it might later, because then
Who's
maybe we need to
Who's
follow
available to?
all high school students in the district. And for no cost. No, it's amazing.
I remember when they were here, they were talking about like busing kids down. Is that something?
Yeah, there's buses that go from all the high schools to the CTC center and back and forth. It's kind of this constant movement of transportation that's already been happening for a long time. So it's really easy to just kind of make an adjustment or whatever and get kids where they need to be.
And do the kids know about it? So like if there's a need, do they know that that's available to them?
I don't know if all kids know.
Especially with Roman not being here now, right?
I know exactly.
But I wonder if that might be something that even James could write something up and we could put in a newsletter or get out to like parents and students and everyone, because now that it's open.
Yeah, there's been things on the website and online, but it's always good to have more ways to communicate it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would look to be.
Where is it located
Look for
at?
it, you know,
At West? Where at West?
It's in the old house of Pink, you know, West High at all. There's like a deep dungeon of like, it used to be a weight room, but then really none of the teams ever used it, and they kind of moved into other areas, and it was called the House of Pain, and it wasn't used for anything. No pain happening and no health either. So they
Where
did
do
some,
the entrance go?
it has its own entrance, and I think it's on, I am sure they have a big sign, but it would probably be in the back. I think it would be in the back of the school.
On Fourth West?
Yes. I'm pretty sure. Northwest, I was close. Okay.
And how did it come to be? I'm sorry, I'll talk to you after. I was
Yeah, I mean, the University of Utah Health Clinics and some other partners have been working on ways to serve student health needs for a long time, like a long time. And it's just been a slowly growing movement, and there were more people involved, more, healthcare businesses or whatever. Just things that take a long time. I don't know. But yeah, if James would write up something, that would be good.
Yeah, is it medical, dental and mental health? Or
It's mostly medical, but there is mental health that I think you can be referred to, and the dental clinics are somewhere else, and I don't know if they're moving those in to West. But the dental stuff was already available, eye care is already available, and probably depending on the space, they might move some of that, so it's all under one roof.
It's very cool.
Yes,
Yeah, right. Get the word out. Okay.
So that's it, for Dr. Taylor, we got here.
Really great timing,
Yeah.
perfect timing. Welcome. Are you ready to jump right in? Is that okay?
Hey.
We're ready for you if you are ready.
We have a short meeting today, so.
I have more of I guess, questions. What do you want me to do, a quick overview?
Maybe a quick overview of the OCR information and then maybe questions. Yeah,
I pointed in this direction, I'll move.
that's great.
Do I need to stand and get my, if I take a seat?
It's been a long day. We all want to sit down today.
Our first OCR situation, we have three major ones. The first one dealt with the attendance policy, the disparate impact of the attendance policy, and the district has reached what's called a 302 agreement with OCR. That means it's not the long drawn out investigation. Based on the information that was gathered, the district has said, hey, we see an issue with this. So we want to work together in order to resolve this issue. Even while doing that, OCR has said, okay, we agree to work with you on that, but these are the guidelines that you have to follow. So in this first agreement, there's roughly 10 what we call terms, or 10 aspects of that agreement that we have to abide by. The major ones that impact the SCC would be, as we work together to develop things, now we have to put them down in writing, submit them to OCR, any major changes to school rules. We have to make sure there's no disparate impact embedded in those. And then they will let us know, they'll provide approval. I guess that's the only way we can say it is approval. And once they provide us with approval, then we implement. So it used to be, we could work together to shared governance, come to a decision, and immediately implement. We can't implement, not at least. We have to get it reviewed by OCR, approved by OCR, then we implement. Yes, ma'am.
How long is that?
We have no control of that.
Okay, so it could just be, it's long.
It could be 6 weeks, it could be 8 weeks, it could be 12 weeks, it could be 2 weeks. That's an outside agency, that's a federal agency. So until we do it the first time and see how much time they take in order to respond, it would just be an uneducated guess. It wouldn't be a hypothesis.
Okay. Okay.
That's a quick question. So if they don't approve something, do they come back and give you guidelines for like where it was deficient, or do they say, sorry, it's not approved, and we have to guess again and try to figure it out?
In my previous life, in dealing with similar situations, they will provide guidance.
Okay.
This is the area of deficiency. This is why we're not approving it. Please further explain this or supply this additional information.
Okay.
That's what I've seen in previous cases.
And are there currently guidelines though that can give guidance as policies and procedures are trying to be put into place, or not? Or is it just guessing?
Roughly it's guessing, because we have to do a self-analysis for one of our programs. We have to do a self-analysis of our policies that impact student attendance, and then provide that feedback to them.
So that's another step that our cell phone policy will need to go through before.
Yeah.
And you said this is at East, not district-wide, statewide, beyond. This is
East.
This is just East.
This is just East. Now, of course, let me just be very transparent with this. If we see something at East that's been replicated at other schools, and we see it has been cited at East,
And even though it hadn't been cited at these other schools, we will act proactively in order to resolve it at these other schools. So some of this, East would be the guinea pig for, but it'll roll out to other schools too. Can I answer your question? Yes, ma'am.
So are you saying like, if, it's- for instance, let's say hypothetically, West had a similar attendance program.
Yeah.
In place now, and, if that's what got us in trouble in this situation, in the first place with OCR, right, is our attendance problem. So the district will then go to West and say, oh, East has been under investigation for this, it has a disparate impact, we've got to make changes, and you'll make changes at West or Highland or wherever also.
Anybody that falls in that like paradigm that we see that same type of issue with, we will proactively correct. So it'd be West, it'd be East, could be Horizonte.
What was the OCR sort of violation?
The disparate impact. It was the impact on vulnerable populations.
Because we did implement it at East because of West, right? We kind of tried to,
I can't.
because they have that policy. Anyway, okay.
I'm not trying to avoid it. I wasn't
Yeah.
privy to that conversation, so.
Okay, but so in regards, like specifically, I know for a lot of people in this group.
And there's a written piece of communication that I'll send you that you can send out to everybody.
That would be amazing, yeah,
We did like a cover sheet for it. That's a
Oh.
summary and everything.
that would be great.
Yeah. I came straight from a meeting, so I apologize for not going by the office and picking it up. I came straight.
No problem, that's easy, we can send that out, that's great. I think, I just don't want it to discourage us moving things forward or continuing to try to implement things that parents or teachers, administrators feel strongly about students at East. And so I guess just like, what is your suggestion? Do you think that we just continue to go for it and just know that it just might take a long time? Like maybe just we preemptively just get it in fast so that we know that it's going to just take a while to get anything approved.
Yeah, I would, excuse me, I would not allow it to stop us from maintaining progress to our accumulated goals. Yeah, I would just keep the momentum moving, realizing that our target for implementation might be spread out a little bit further. So instead of saying, okay, let's take it, I know the hot topic is the cell phone policy, I've been watching. Your target may not be implementation in May, but through the proper steps, getting everything in place, your target could possibly be implementation in August when we come back to school.
So they'll work over the summer?
I don't get off over something.
Good, good.
Do you have like a priority level? Like, can we say we need this sooner? You can put this off later. Do you have that option?
Not that I'm aware of. Now, what I will say, there is a summary that I'll be submitting in May that will deal with the policies for the things that had impact on the kids, the attendance policy, everything that falls in that paradigm. If we would like to get something submitted at that time, that might be a good window to say, hey, this is the summary, this is our analysis, and these are the things we would like to do in the fall.
When are you submitting that?
May the 18th. That's, and I'm pulling it off my head, I'm trying to remember, but I think it's around the 18th.
And I feel like
Let me throw this another date out.
Please, yeah.
If I got to submit it on the 18th, can you get it to me like May the 15th,
Of course,
13th, somewhere around?
Yeah.
Give me a couple of days.
And then I feel like we started, I interjected with questions right away, so I feel like we can keep going if there were other, there were other
things.
two
right?
other
Now-
things. There was the
Yeah.
attendance policy and then.
Oh, the attendance policy is our ELLs and the services for our ELLs. Sorry, I know education is our acronyms that we use, English language learners. Okay. That's pretty much more staffing and resources allocated to that. We're working on that, getting a plan in place for those children. The biggest piece that will impact the SCC is probably the rules and how we're gonna have to put rules in place and the process we have to go through. Now, that's just for one of the 302. We pretty much gonna have two more coming. And so I won't know what the provisions are for those next two until they roll down the pipe.
What are the other two?
Wide ranging, let's say it that way. Really pretty much to crystallize it, how do we reach out to our vulnerable populations? How do we share information about vulnerable populations? How do we determine what languages to translate materials into? You know, that's pretty much the wide aspects of it. Sorry, let me backtrack. I didn't start with my normal stump speech. Let me start my stump speech portion of it. Realizing as a district, we don't ever have anything negative to say about anybody that's filed an OCR complaint. If they filed a complaint, they had a reason that they felt like that complaint needed to be filed. What we want to do as a district is make sure that if there is truth to that process, that we correct that process. It's not anything disparaging about an individual. It's not anything directed at an individual. It's about how do we make sure that we solve the problems that exist for our children. With that being said, we want to make sure that we put things in place that our employees feel like they can come to us before going to outside agencies to file complaints. That way we control the process and we can resolve the process in an expeditious manner. We want to avoid getting these other agencies involved because it takes so much time. But if that's what the person feels like they have their own recourse to do, then we support them wholeheartedly. That's the political side. The application side of it simply is, I really can't go into the details of the next two until those agreements are reached. Because people might interpret what I say as me having one side or an opinion about the matter, and then the person who filed the complaint can turn around and say, well, they're retaliating against me. So to avoid that headache, it's not that I'm trying to avoid your question. I just want to make sure that the agreements are reached, the agreements are put in place, and then we distribute information about it. So I don't want you to think I'm dismissing your question. I'm just trying to handle it the right way.
So just to try and be really clear, I completely understand what you said, but so there were 3 separate complaints, is what you're saying.
Might be more.
They're just relating to East High School.
Just relating to East High School.
And all relating to the attendance policy or all?
Sometimes these type of situations become like snowballs. They start on the hill real small, but by the time they reach the base of the hill, they've grown because they've accumulated other things. And that's kind of how this process started.
And once the Office of Civil Rights is involved, and they're supervising our policies, that it is, how long does that period last? Do they set it? Do we
They
have
set
to
it.
apply
And I'm
for a
laughing.
certain amount of time, or?
I'm laughing, people crying. Oh, I shouldn't use that analogy, I apologize. In one of this first agreement, what's embedded in one of the terms is a 90-day reporting cycle. And after the third 90-day reporting cycle, they will let us know if we need
Wait,
to.
after the third?
After the
90
third.
day reporting cycle.
Yeah.
So we have 3 90-day.
Cycle
So it's a
reporting.
year, basically.
Basically.
Basically, it's.
Now, that's with one term. When you see the document that I send you, that's got those different terms, you'll see different deadlines and timelines for those different terms. So, with a couple of them, there are 10 terms in total. With a couple of them, it's a 36-month timeline. And at the end of that 36-month timeline, if we have not met the guidelines by then, they can extend it indefinitely. So what we want to do is have fixed the problems by the end of that third reporting period in that 36 months. So then they indicate to us you're released from this agreement. You've corrected it, you've released. So the longest embedded timeline that I remember is 36 months.
Can you elaborate on the ELL?
Well, it's about the curriculum that was offered to the ELLs, the class size that we have for ELLs, where they given access to plans and resources adequately. So that's the essence of what the plan was, well, not the plan, but the issue was for our ELLs. There's your question.
And we'll never get any more detail than that about what the actual complaints were.
But yeah, you'll get the summary document that I send, I'm gonna send to the chair, that she'll distribute to everybody, will have the information.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, they'll tell you what the agreement is about, what the office is about, what were the issues and the terms of the agreement. I will not say who can file the complaint or answer.
Sure, sure. But I mean, the best way to avoid that stuff in the future is to know how we got there. in the
First place, right? And they have a warehouse for it, so we can record all of this information. So other people transitioning in and out, they don't know.
And so this came internally from a faculty or admin or parent, or not that we'll ever know, which is fine. But
Probably a common, I hate to say a combination, but in some cases it's fact and no. In other cases it's parents that were involved, so.
Right.
Is there another path for faculty? Like, do you have a compliance department that they could go to versus having to file an OCR?
Yeah, we have an internal compliance officer. It's their assistant principal they report to, the principal they report to. If they don't know anything, the area director, not the area director, me, if not me, the superintendent.
Is there any way to do an anonymous one?
Yeah, they do it all the time. Email.
Okay.
Just shoot email. And I'm not saying to be, please forgive me, it came off as frivolous. That's not what I mean. We do respond to,
Yeah.
we get them all the time. I've gotten letters screwed up on my desk, not my desk, my office door before. I still haven't figured out how they got in to do it. But it was an issue, so we solved it. Yes, ma'am.
Just ask one more procedural question. I don't want to take up too much time with all this, but so any stakeholder in the school can file an OCR complaint, is that right?
Anybody.
Anybody can, and is there like some kind of probable cause that they go through, or what's the process? Like, if you make an allegation, is it just automatically, now we're gonna have to, you know.
Open
Yeah,
file.
No.
have it-
No.
Or, I mean, how, do you know, can you
Yes.
tell us briefly, or is that too complicated?
Once the allegation is made, the district gets notice of the allegation. And in the notice of the allegation, the entity said, OCR in this case, we OCR, EEOC, OCR, Office of Civil Rights. They'll say, hey, we've gotten this complaint, and this complaint alleges A, B, C, and D. We're gonna make arrangements now to investigate A, B, C, and D. We want you to gather this information, submit this information. Once you submit this information, we'll review it and we'll determine if we have to come in and do a visit. In the midst of this process, as the district was gathering that information, the information started to say, oh, we do have a problem. Now, at that point, the district can make a choice and say, hey, you come in and investigate. Or we can say, hey, we recognize we have a problem, let's work together to solve the problem. And what the district chose to do was say, hey, we recognize we have a problem, let's work to resolve this problem. Now, from my previous life in dealing with OCR, that came out wrong. From my previous life and interacting with OCR, once they come in to visit, it's like an internal auditor. They might be coming to look to see if everybody's wearing red socks, but they'll find any and everything that relates to it, and they'll pull in. So really,
You want to avoid the investigation?
if possible, if possible.
Sorry, I know you're here for SCC, but I'm very interested in yellow. Like, I just have a side question here. Who's in charge of this department in the district? Is it like a bunch of linguists? Like, who's in charge of?
On the district level, the teaching and learning, which is that division that deals with curriculum and instruction, we have an individual that's the ALS coordinator. And there's, what's Monty's last name? I just went blank.
Ike,
Right.
Monty, Ike.
Monty, he's over, he works with refugee services as well as ELL.
As a comment.
And you were asking the district.
Yeah, from the district, yeah, as a comment, because even though my kids were born here, they had to do English as second language classes, and the dialects that they were using, like each country has so many different dialects, and they were using different dialects, and my kids were even more confused, and they just lucked out because they speak English, but maybe this is one of the reasons why our reading is not, doing well, because we're just throwing whatever dialect just because you're from that country. So
So noted, and we will address, because I can pass that information on. I will say, having a language background myself, recognizing that because of those dialects, we have to be very focused on our efforts. And sometimes we're not. Sometimes we group kids, and it's because of taking a road, the easier road. We need to break that process. That's what we're working on. questions?
Sounds great.
Well, I have a question not related about, well, or that's okay.
You sure?
No,
I'm here.
no. That's fine.
So are you able to give us guidance on what to be doing and as we move forward with different policies? I mean, we have been talking about the cell phone policy, I think. Kristen McDonald, she's not here, but I think she emailed you about asking for guidance on that. And are you able to provide any to help?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be helpful for all of us going forward, whatever the policy is or what the procedure is. I know we can't do policies, procedures. But, you know, it would be helpful, so we're not just shooting in the dark for this, just, you know,
Yeah,
as well.
I'm able to provide assistance whenever needed. I don't have an issue with that. One thing I would caution you about, begin with the end in mind. And what I mean by that is, begin with having already visualized what do you want to see emerge from this process. It's easy to say no cell phones, but how are you going to get to no cell phones? Are we talking storage for cell phones? Or what's going to be the monitoring for that? What's going to be the consequences recommended for that? What you going to do when a kid, I've never seen a kid get in trouble for having a cell phone. I've seen kids get in trouble for refusing to give up their cell phone. That's a distinction.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think that's what we're asking, like, how, like, if you can help us with those kind of nuances. a little bit.
We were talking about this at school one time, and Dr. Taylor made a point that I felt like we should share right now, and that is, if our district has a policy that is passed for every student, every employee, all the ways we do things, OCR will never question that. Like, if we say we want to do something different, we're going to look at this board policy and do it better. Am I saying that the correct way? That would avoid a lot of this wait and see. If we come up with something new.
That was in place before the agreement was executed. Anything that was in place then is not subject to OCR review. It's only the new. So if you're creating a new procedure versus looking at how do you implement a previous procedure, that's a distinction.
He said it better, but I think that's really important as we're looking at a lot of different things going forward.
Because the current cell phone policy says no use in class, right?
Yep, unless a teacher says.
We're just, okay.
Not that, and we talked about that we don't necessarily follow that as well as we could.
Right.
But if we said we're gonna follow that procedure better, that policy that's already in place, that would be a whole different and faster conversation.
That's a good point. That's an interesting.
Just something to put in the notes. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Right, because otherwise, if you let them start evaluating it, I'm afraid they get completely get taken away.
We have to assume some good faith. I mean, their whole pitch is to make sure that no one's civil rights are
For sure.
You know, imperfectly managed, right? And obviously the district, it sounds like the district thought it had a problem. They dug up the information too, just based on what you're saying. So I mean, it was a problem, right?
Well,
so I think we just have to be really. I don't think we should be, lose the drive to recommend things that we think make sense. I think we just have to be. We'll just do ourselves a lot of favors if we really think about how this will really impact people from a civil rights perspective.
Well, and I'm thinking that even beyond the cell phone policy. So I agree, like just.
I don't think we should be fearful, trying to improve things.
No.
I'm gonna share this example. We've got a hall traffic issue. We've got an issue at Eastwood Hall traffic. One of the things we're trying to put in place was a previous practice that was called a wrap home. That's not anything new. It's something that fell out of practice. What we're doing is bringing that practice back. That's not something that's subject to review by OCR because it was in place before. We just discontinued the process.
What is that?
The
restorative access point, which means, hey, Dr. Taylor, you're in the hall again today.
you need to come with me. We're gonna go have a seat. We're gonna talk about why it's important for you to be at school. You're gonna call your parent. We used to have kids write an email like to their connections teacher or their counselor to maybe reach out for some help, and then we walk them to class. So it's not like you're in trouble and you're gonna sit in this room and be yelled at, but you're gonna reach out to people that can help you, and then you're gonna get to class. And it's hard to do.
Why did we discontinue? We didn't have enough people?
When we started it, we had 0 advocates. When 2 months later, when we were still trying to do it on our own, we had 0 advocates. We were having a really hard time. Right after COVID, no one was trying to get a job at East. And so we were trying to do everything without any extra help, and we just couldn't do it. But I think it's a really good, solid procedure that we can use to help kids get out of the hall.
We have what, 6 applicants now?
Yeah, and I think we hired another 1 or 2. We kind of get a couple and then lose a couple. So, but we have so many more than we did 3 years ago. It's much better. So restarting something that was already there, following a policy better, doing something brand new. Those are kind of the things.
I'm not leaving, so I'm just going back to. Then you just let me go.
So refining an existing policy is not considered, like, we don't have to get their permission.
Right,
for refining it.
right.
Oh.
Or taking a board policy and saying, we could do this better, and it doesn't have to be cell phones, it could be other things. We're gonna pay better attention to this, we're gonna make sure we all understand this policy, we're gonna follow it better, because it's good for our students.
But if we add to it, that's what.
Right.
Okay.
We'll have a lot of time to talk about this. I mean, really, there's gonna be a lot coming, and I'm glad Erin's willing to send the kind of the 10 bullet points out. There's a lot of information in that, so that'll help us all kind of come with our next set of questions, probably.
Yeah, Dr. Taylor, that was so helpful. Thank you for coming and sharing that information with us. I have just one more question. I just have quite curious to ask about kind of where things are at as far as like the principal, just leaving us. Where are we moving along? Like what's we're kind of wondering where that is.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought.
We did the meet and greets, we did the focus groups. Last week, that information was shared with Dr. Grant, Logan, and myself. So we'll interview later on this week, 2 finalists. After that, if one of the 2 finalists team is selected, then they'll be recommended to move forward. If one of them are not, we'll restart the whole process.
Recommended by you or by
Dr. Grant.
Dr. Grant?
Dr. Grant makes the final decision.
Yeah, Dr. Grant makes the final decision.
And what does the board have a decision?
Well, hold on. When I say the final decision, it's the final decision on who's recommended to the board for
Right.
approval.
Would the board ever come
Yeah.
back and say, I don't know, or like how much say do they have?
The board is the authorizing agency, so they do have a right to say no. That would be extremely difficult though, with the board type of position. We want to make sure we recommend somebody that's highly qualified and that's a good fit. Okay, y'all, it's late in the afternoon, please forgive me for not asking around this topic. If the board rejects somebody, then they're rejecting the recommendation from administration. And remember, administration is the one who's called the responsibility and accountable for forming a team and putting people in place to be successful. That kind of creates a quandary. And I know, I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it in intro. I get 2 times I put my foot in my mouth, this is one of the 2. There's not gonna be a perfect person. We took a risk. The students in the first focus group said that, hey, it would be great if you did some type of form, you brought in the finalists. And those finalists talked with us, presented, they said talk with us. When the idea was brought up with the parents in the focus group, they said, we want to see a little presentation. They incorporated that, understanding the political nature of Salt Lake City. And automatically, people, once we named finalists, they got interviewed, but they came to present for the public, and their names got out there. That there are gonna be some people who are pro one person and anti another person and anti both of them. And, do the calls, do the emails to board members and to the superintendent and the me. There's no perfect process that we have. We're looking for the best possible person. That's what I said. And that's what I meant by if these two through their interviews don't flesh out, then what happened is we'll restart the process. Won't be a set, and let me say this again, it won't be going down to candidate 3, 4, and 5. These were the best two that their committee recommended. So if these two don't make it, we're gonna look at a whole new process. Yes, a reboot.
So assuming it is one of those two, when do you hope to have that recommendation for the board? Do you have a date for that?
We don't have a date, but I try to open 2-week windows.
Okay.
So if we interview this week, I'm gonna work with Dr. Grant, get whatever information that she needs to feel solid about her recommendation moving forward, and then probably make the work.
Okay.
Thank you for being so willing to listen to students and parents and do those extra meetings and that. I think that was really appreciated.
I hope it does work.
Yeah.
Do we have an update on the basketball coach as to where that's at?
They're-
Still in the hiring process?
Yeah, we haven't done interviews yet, but
They'll
there's
select
some
the
people that
principal
are,
First?
well, it's hard to say. If we can manage the spring ball and if Skip can keep kind of things moving along while we're hiring, I would much rather a new principal have a say in a basketball coach. I think that's a really important hire for a new principal. If it just drags out forever and things aren't working, we'll be prepared to do interviews and try to hire ourselves. But I'll send you guys some information as I have.
Yeah, I think it'd be good if a new principal is involved.
I do too. And I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm like, okay, hurry and get hired. Even though you won't start till July 1, let's hurry and get you thinking about things, which I think any new high school principal will be willing to be involved to some level, especially if they're asked really nicely. Will do. Okay. So we'll see. Okay. But the position, it's open still, so.
Okay, any other questions? Thanks again, Dr. for coming, for sharing all the information with us. The last thing we need to do before we close is we still need to vote on the minutes from last month because we didn't have enough people here to vote. So, if anybody would like, did everyone see the minutes? I did email those out. Okay, can we make a motion to vote on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to vote in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, great. Motion, we need to make a motion. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second the motion.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Hey, thank you all so much. Thank you. We have
Thank you,
one
guys.
more meeting.
I know, one more, I cannot believe it.
Crazy.